heard that Burkina Faso is now talking to Mali, Niger, and other countries. What other kind of collaborations are going on between Africans themselves? We need Africa to unite as the African Continental Free Trade, or I'm going to throw that one out there. Next, we're going to hear from Mohammed Kosia, who is the Trade and Investment Liaison for the Embassy of Sierra Leone.
Good afternoon and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I bring greetings from Sierra Leone in the our ambassador. I think first off, I'd like to thank the Utumde organization and Understand for giving us the opportunity to talk about Sierra Leone. My name is Mohammed Kosia. I'm the Trade and Investment Liaison for the Embassy of Sierra Leone. So one of the things I want to talk about, Sierra Leone is open for business. Interestingly, when we do a presentation in settings like this, most American businesses want to know about numbers. You know, Americans like numbers. So Sierra Leone is about 8 million people. But when we pitch Sierra Leone, most times we don't pitch Sierra Leone as a standalone. So what we do, we pitch Sierra Leone as a man of river union. Because the stability in Sierra Leone, we've had about 4 democratic transitions in terms of elections. So the safety, reliability you have in that Mano River. So some numbers that I want to throw out there. The Mano River Union, which is Guinea, Liberia, and Sierra Leone, just have about 515 million people. And the GDP for that area is about $58 billion. So there are lots of opportunity. But I think when it comes to investments, I remember I was having a meeting with our president once, and he said, you know something, we don't want to wait for the multinational corporations who are bringing $300–400 million to invest. There are $5–10 million investments that people can start with. When you get boots on the ground, when you learn to say there's so many other opportunities. I also want you guys to know Sierra Leone will give us close to 90% of what we are consuming in Sierra Leone. There's an African American gentleman in Sierra Leone, I think it's called Seawright. Alfred Seawright is from South Carolina. He has a company he was investing in diamonds. So the president actually gave us an example. Seawright came here, he invested about 10 million, he's been in Sierra Leone for about 15 years now. So I'm saying this to say, you don't have to wait till you have $200–300 million to come and invest. In 2025, our Finance Act has made sure that if you invest in Sierra Leone and you have 20% local ownership, you employ about 100 people to get 5 years tax waiver. If you invest a minimum of $7,500,000, you employ about 150 people to 10 years tax waiver. So we're throwing all these numbers out for people to know Sierra Leone is open, and not just Sierra Leone. You use Sierra Leone as a springboard. Just like you would drive from New York to Philadelphia or Delaware to Philadelphia, it's the same for Guinea, Liberia, and Ivory Coast. So you're not just looking at the small population. You can set up shop in Sierra Leone and spread your tentacles into the Mano River Union. There's also the ECOWAS market. ECOWAS market has about 645 million people and a GDP of 98 billion. So if you invest in Sierra Leone, you're not just investing in Sierra Leone, you're also investing in ECOWAS. My brother here, Melvin, talked about the AFTC, which is the Africa Continental Free Trade. The Africa Continental Free Trade has about 1.5 billion people. The GDP is about 29 trillion. In 2050, that GDP is going to go to about 30 trillion. So we need to get engaged. It's not just talk, presentation. There are little things we can do to start this revolution. And one of the things that I actually want to read here, if I can, is to focus on Africa. Before I actually get to that, the distance to Sierra Leone from the US is about 8 hours. From Casablanca, Morocco is about 3 hours. from Lagos, Nigeria, it's about 3 hours. So, based on what people have been reading or seeing in the news, there's so much potential there. When I travel around, when I come, there are a lot of Africans and African Americans who will complain about the reliability, safety, and all that good stuff. But you know what I tell them? When you go to any of the West African countries, you have the Lebanese, you have the Chinese, now the Turkish people are coming, you have the Indians, all of them are there, and not complaining and making a killing out of our people. When I say killing, they're making profits. Africa is one place. I forgot I'm in Philadelphia. So contrary to what you hear about Africa not being safe, there's a Moody's analysis that we've done about 14 years ago. So when it comes to risk, South America has 10% risk. Eastern Europe has about 14%. You know what Africa has? 1.7%. So you can see CNN about wars, about all that sort of people are there making money. So let me just read a few statistics for us here. So one, Africa, the next frontier, 75% is under 35 years, including 600 million people between 15 and 35 years. So ECOWAS, which is the Economic Community of West Africa, which is 15 African countries, including Nigeria, Ghana, and Senegal. So the population for ECOWAS is 419 million, and the GDP is $683 billion. I mentioned the AFTC, which my brother talked about. The AFTC has about 1.5 billion. For now, the GDP is about 3.4 trillion. In 2050, it's going to be 29 trillion and growing. So, for the sake of this presentation, there's an organization called DFC, which is the Department of Foreign Investment. This is a U.S. vehicle that invests in overseas. So interestingly, we were doing a project recently, a ferry project. Feasibility checked out until the new president came and just canceled the USDA grant that we were going to get. So that investment is about 35 million. So what the CEO told us, who are the investors? So we gave, luckily we had a Serbian American who was part of that group. So interestingly, we learned for them to fund us, we need to have 50% US ownership. So I'm saying this here to say, for our brothers, there's investment that you can look into to invest in Africa. Like I said earlier, we import almost everything. So please, let's stop the talking. Let's come and invest. Thank you very much.